All right, hello everybody. This is Professor Schoner with another short video, this time talking about the analysis paper assignments that you'll have roughly every other week or so for this History 101 semester. So what I'm going to do here is talk about the assignment, direct you toward some resources, walk through a little bit of it so you know what you're getting into instead of going in blind with these assignments. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to screen share here so you can see um, where we're at here on the Blackboard course website. So we've got, we're on the announcement page, but if you go on the left-hand side to weekly modules, click on that. What you'll see now from now on is a folder up here called analysis paper resources. And it's always going to be up here. I have future weeks locked that aren't available to you yet because I'm still populating this folders. But at the very top, you have this analysis paper resources folder. Will always be there at the pinned to the very top of the modules page for easy reference. And if you click on week 2, you'll see your analysis paper assignment down here at the very bottom of the module page for week 2. And so here you have the directions for, what to write about. There's 2 questions, question 1 and 2, and some brief directions. If you click on the analysis paper 1 link, this is where you go to upload your file, your finished Word document or PDF, whatever format it may be. You can even, if you wanted to, write your paper. I don't recommend doing this, but you could type your paper into Blackboard directly in this write submission button after clicking that. I wouldn't recommend doing that because things could time out on you if you step away and you could lose all of your work on your browser. So definitely try as best as possible to use a Google Doc, save it in the cloud, or a Word document or something like that. All right, so backing out to the weekly modules, I want to click on this analysis paper resources folder and give you guys a little bit of info because a lot of this stuff I think is really going to help many of you out when writing these short papers. Okay. Number 1 is analysis paper template. It's right here at the top. We're going to open that up and I'm going to walk through a little bit of that with you guys. This will always be there in that folder. None of that stuff is going to go away even after our first assignment. So you can always refer back to it if you need. But the analysis paper template is basically the format of the page that I want it to take place. So in the top left, we have your name, the class, History 101, the instructor, that's me, Professor Schoner, and then paper number 1 or paper number 2 or number 3 or whatever you're working on. In this case, it's paper number 1 because it's your first one. The format should take the form of 12-point font, Times New Roman style typeface, or Calibri, which I believe is the default now on Microsoft Word, double spaced. Leave the margins, don't mess with the margins, whatever the default is for Microsoft Word, that's what we want it to be. And then the top left corner with all this good stuff, right, which we've already gone through. The essay structure, basically, I want it to look like a good, solid college paper, which is, it has 3 parts, an intro, a body, and conclusion. Hopefully in high school or in a different English class, you've already learned how to do this. But this is just there as a refresher to talk about what a good college level paper looks like. That's those 3 parts, intro, body, conclusion. We'll take a look at that in just a second. The grading, you can look at the grading rubric, which I might as well bring up right now that we're talking about it. The grading rubric is also listed in your analysis paper resources folder. You can take a look at this anytime you want, but I'll be grading on the content of your essay, just showing that you've read the documents, you know what you're talking about. How they're used as evidence, which we'll look at an example of that in a second. The length, is it within that 2 to 3 page mandatory sort of window? Are citations used? Are you citing your evidence in your paper? And are you using good English? So that's the rubric. You can refer to that Anytime. Now, back to the template. When we're talking about the citations, this is what I mean. Is there are different citation styles, like formal styles that maybe someday you'll learn for a different class. Uh, so either Chicago style or MLA or something like that. I am not going to get bogged down in the very formal citation style of citing your sources. Not You don't have to worry about it for this class, partly because we're only using one book and we're all using the same documents together. So I'm going to give you an example of how to properly cite a source when writing essays in this class. So here we have, an example from History 101 of the first week of documents. Punishments fell especially harsh on Babylonian women in the ancient period. For instance, Law 153 says that if a man's wife has her husband killed on account of her relationship with another man, they shall impale that woman. Where did I get that quote from? Where did I get that information? The Code of Hammurabi. It's a document in our Perspectives from the Past document reader. And it's cited here in parentheses at the end of the sentence in which I refer to it. Code of Hammurabi. So the title, you could also have the author if there's an author. But as long as I have like something notifying me which document you're using. Code of Hammurabi doesn't really have an author, right? But later on, sources will. So title and or author, comma, page 24, which is where we found it in our Perspectives from the Past document reader. So that is the quick and dirty way of citing your sources in this class. All of your analysis papers are going to be relying on using documents from our Perspectives book. Like that's how you get your evidence. That's your basis of evidence for these writing assignments. So it's important that you cite where you get your evidence from. That's really the whole point of these exercises anyway. What I'd like to do then is look at a sample paper. I've put 2 sample papers for your convenience in this resources pack. So we're going to look at what a real student wrote last semester, or when I'm recording this, it's spring 2020. So 2021, sorry. So fall 2020, I had a student who wrote a very good paper, and I'm using this as kind of a model. This is from History 102, and I know I'm recording this for History 101, but that's on purpose. I'm using a different topic that no one can just copy and paste and claim as their own in this class. Down at the bottom, I posted the paper prompt, like the questions being asked of the student to answer. So you have the context for what he or she is writing about. And you can look at that. But what I'm interested in is just showing you a good structured paper with citations. Here up at the top left, they've got I took the name out to keep the student anonymous, but here's where you would have your name. In this particular assignment, it was History 102, the instructor of the paper. This ends up being paper number 3. They also said week 7 analysis paper down here. Just one or the other is fine, right? And in fact, this is totally not necessary. We could just take that out. So they're writing about the French Revolution in this first part. And here they have a good introductory paragraph. It's just 2 to 3 sentences. 2 to 3 sentences is all you need really for just a good solid intro. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's why it's important. And then they get into discussing the question, one of the questions asked of them in this prompt, which has to do with modern problems and modern solutions. And so they kind of introduce the problem here. One of the biggest questions facing the world at the time was, where do women fit in society? This is one of the questions asked in the paper prompt. He goes on to say more and more women are becoming increasingly frustrated with their role and wish for equal opportunities in the workplace. However, and he starts using his document evidence now to support what he's saying. Sarah Stickney Ellis wrote a book titled Women of England. And so here he introduces his piece of evidence to back up his essay, which aimed to bring older, more Victorian ideas to the modern era. This document is very interesting as it goes against feminism and actually agrees that women should be more domesticated. So here we have him using a piece of evidence to answer the question. This particular document is talking about feminism, or in this case, anti-feminism. And he cites this source. Ellis, there's the author's name. He just shortens the title to women. That's totally fine. I know what document this person is talking about. And then page 729. Uses the exact same source again in the next sentence. You know, she claims that, quote, personal values enhance blah, 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 and cites where he or she, I can't remember, it's a he or she, got their information. Sorry, I'll try and use gender neutral language from now on. So here they've used that source a couple of times. They switch gears in the next paragraph talking about the Communist Manifesto. And here they pull out a quote from the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx and Engels cited here, Manifesto, page 729 or 726. And be aware that even if you're not directly drawing out a quote, you're not copying and pasting a quote from this source, if you're getting information from it, you should still cite it. So this is a good example later on in this paragraph. Marx argues that the discord between the classes could be solved by a revolt against the middle class. It's not a direct quote, but they're still citing the Communist Manifesto, so he needs to put in a citation at the end of the sentence. Or she. I'm so sorry. I am really, I think I knew that this is a male student when I pulled this essay from last semester, and I think that's why I'm reverting to sexist language, gendered language. So there's a couple more examples of that. Tocqueville is cited. As long as you're using, I would say three documents in your essay, and you're citing them appropriately to back up, to answer the questions and back up what you're saying. If you're using and citing three sources, you're in pretty good shape for what I want from these papers. And he goes on to argue. He closes out with a concluding paragraph, just a couple sentences long. So here he's got maybe 2.5 pages, which falls within the 2 to 3 page range. You can look up that particular sample paper whenever you want, because it's in the analysis paper resources folder. And there's another one in there too that we're not going to review for the sake of brevity. So I hope this helps you start to think about what you're doing when I ask you to write an analysis paper. I hope this has been helpful to you just to see what is going on and where to find the resources to help you at any time. But if you have any questions at all, please send me an email, ask me what's going on, and I'll be happy to help and get back to you as soon as I possibly can. All right, well, guys, good luck. Happy writing, and I look forward to reading your first assignment. Bye.